Hi again, this is AZC2. Today I'm going to speak about the recent incidences at River Valley High School and St. Joseph's Institution. The first instance at River Valley High School involved a secondary 4 student cutting the throat of a younger student with an axe. He has been remanded and will be facing trial for murder. It was reported that the older student was treated previously at the Institute of Mental Health following a failed suicide attempt 2 years ago. At St. Joseph's Institution, it was reported that a student fell from a height. While I do not wish to speculate on how he managed to fall, the idea that he may have attempted to take his own life hangs at the back of my head. Which brings us back to the first case. A failed suicide attempt. A murder 2 years later. Something isn't right with Singapore's mental health system, or is it? Yes, mental health is a painful issue for many people, and for me as well. There has been calls for more support for mental health from opposition MPs. One of them is the Workers' Party's Raisa Khan, who was recently elected to Sengkang GRC in 2020. Another is former army psychologist Dr. Ang Yong Guan, who is now with the Progress Singapore Party. I have great respect for Dr. Ang, and I'll discuss more about him later in this video. River Valley High School, being a special assisted plan school, caters to the Chinese elite in Singapore, where people study English and Chinese on an equal level. Like in other schools, they teach Chinese as a foreign language, but not in River Valley High School. In primary school, I attended one which had the same environment, and it's like a pressure cooker there. Like we were taught that we were the top cohort of our generation, and that everyone else were lesser beings than us, and most of them obviously were ethnic minorities whom we were subconsciously given the impression that they weren't as good because they didn't study their mother tongue as a first language like we had to. The student who murdered his schoolmate must have been living under a lot of stress caused by dealing with such a toxic environment. In fact, several ex-River Valley High students had come out into the open saying that they had issues with mental health and were traumatized by their experience in high school. River Valley High is also the alma mater of former government scholar Sun Xu, who was born in China. He infamously declared that there were more dogs than humans in Singapore back in 2012, leading to many people calling for the scholarship to be revoked. More dogs than humans. Was he talking about ethnic minorities? We don't know. Yes, the thing is, many students are facing pressure and they are no longer able to cope, but there is no support system for them. They are effectively falling through the cracks. And let's move on to St. Joseph's Institution. They are one of the best Catholic schools in Singapore, and we would expect their pastoral care system to be up there. But it doesn't seem like it's the case. If the student who fell from a height was indeed trying to jump to his death, we need to examine his motives for doing that. The Catholics teach that suicides go to hell because suicide goes against the 10 Commandments, which says thou shalt not kill. And suicide is the act of killing oneself. The act of suicide signifies that somebody has exhausted all their options in life and has nothing left to live for. Nothing. Can we really blame them? Can we blame them for feeling what they feel? I mean, I've been through a dark road in life, and I can empathize with the two students concerned. When I was doing my A-levels, I felt the warning signs of depression coming on, but there was practically next to no one I could turn to, because they would only dismiss my concerns, nothing more. 2 years later, while I was doing military service, I felt the full-blown effects of depression. And that's how I came to know Dr. Ang Yong Guan. Ever since Dr. Ang hung up his uniform, he's been active in Singapore's opposition movement. I would say the good doctor is giving back to society after what he's done in the past. When I left for further studies overseas, I've experienced on and off bouts of depression. After that period, when I graduated, a few years later, I went through a rough patch, and I was at the lowest point of my life. And about to end it all. There was a bulk-billed psychologist whom I saw, but I never could make time for his appointments as I later got a job that required me to work really long hours. I discovered that work would occasionally serve as a distraction, and I would forget that I was depressed. During the period when I was at my lowest, I was also in financial strife, and I wasn't able to go back to visit my parents during winter. And if you see how cold and grey it is, the cold grey sky and the empty streets, they certainly don't put joy in my heart. I feel the most depressed whenever that winter comes, and especially during this COVID-19 pandemic with all the borders closed. I'm missing the sunny tropical paradise of Singapore, where I spent my first 24 years. I feel that my life as I knew it was over on my 18th birthday. Yes. Everything else that followed has never seemed real. Like it seemed like an animation more than anything else. The only thing real all these years has been the pain deep inside my heart. When I read about the 2 cases of the River Valley and St. Joseph students, I couldn't help but feel for them, because I've gone down a dark path which I've not quite managed to emerge from, but which these 2 kids appear to be stuck for life. My message to them is to try and be strong, and to pray for a brighter future. The system needs to change, otherwise it's going to fail us, like it almost failed me, and it totally failed them. I leave you to think over what I've just said. Good night for now, and stay strong, everyone.